Someone asked me, why did I decide to start this? It's pretty simple. A lot of people out there that have been living in a misinformation age. That's the best way to explain it. It used to be that we could trust certain people with information. They would tell us the truth. But lately, that hasn't been happening. You know, back in 1948, after World War II, the Congress of the United States saw what propaganda was doing to the Japanese and the German people. And they vowed never to use the government to propagandize the American people. And they passed a law during that time. And that law stood all the way until 2011, when an amendment was placed in the National Defense Authorization Act by a Republican and a Democrat, and was signed by the president, which gave authorization to our government to use propaganda on us. This is not any more evident than what we've seen in the last 2 years. The media trying to show us a narrative to make us believe the President of the United States was a Russian spy. John 8:32 says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Psalms 25:5, "Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art the God of my salvation. On thee do I wait all day." In Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." I think everybody here would agree that we are in the last days. Then let's see what the Bible says about the last days and why things are happening the way they're happening in our world right now. Daniel 7, chapter 7, "Thus he said, the four beasts shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all other kingdoms. It shall devour the whole earth. It shall tread it down and break it in pieces." That means that there's a kingdom coming on the earth that will envelop the whole earth. In Revelation chapter 13, verse 1 says, "And I stood upon the sea of the sand and saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy." What this is the one world government, where there's one leader who is the Antichrist, there's one religion, there's one currency. We see evidence of the currency right now. It's in your wallet. Take out your wallet. Didn't all the credit cards change over and put a chip in your credit card? Well, that same chip is going to go on your hand or your forehead. In the last days, it talks about that, the mark of the beast. So what we need to start looking at is not politically. We need to look at not the left and right. We need to look at right and wrong, truth and lies, Satan's agenda, God's agenda. What is Satan's agenda? A one world government. We've heard the terms New World Order, Trilateral Commission, Council of Rome, Bilderberg Group. All these are derivative of this one world government that is Satan's agenda to do. So anything that has to do with a global agenda is toward the one world government. Anything that has to do with nationalism to make our country strong is against that. Ephesians 6 tells us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." So why would we be surprised if God uses men and women for his agenda, that Satan doesn't use men and women for his agenda? That's foolish. But yet while we speak of this on a left and right perspective, oh, we're racist, we're, all these different letters that they use. But the bottom line is they're either telling the truth or they're telling a lie. They're either have one agenda set in place or another. There is no disputing that. You're not racial because you want the truth. You're intelligent. That's wisdom. What is going to happen is happening. 1 Timothy chapter 4 says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the later time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy. Who have you seen in the news media and in Congress, Senate, that speaks lies and hypocrisy? Think about that for a minute. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 3 said, this know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers. Who have we known that's been a false accuser, either on the left or right, in Congress or in the press? Revelation chapter 3 says, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would that you were either cold or hot. So because you were lukewarm and neither cold or hot, I will spew out of my mouth. Are we lukewarm Christians? Have we taken a side? Are we soldiers of Christ or followers of Satan? Now is the time on this earth to make a decision on what side you're going to be on. There was someone, a great man, who saw all this coming over 50 years ago. I'm not going to read the whole speech, but I'm going to read part of the speech, because he saw this new world order. He saw this global government coming, and he said in his own words that I do not intend to permit to the extent that it is in my control. Now I'm taking excerpts from his speech. I'm not going to read the whole speech. Even today, there is little value in inspiring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is a very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. Today, no war has been declared. However fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional sense. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe, the New World Order. Yet no war has been declared, no borders have been crossed by marching troops, no missiles have been fired. It requires a change in outlook. What I just said, not a left and right, but a right and wrong, a truth and lies, a Satan's agenda and God's agenda. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in mission by the government, by the people, and every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. This is the illusion of choice. If you think, my fan is blowing the paper. If you think that by looking at certain TV stations that you're getting the truth, look at this. All of our radio and newspaper, virtually all of it, 90% of it, is owned by 6 companies. What's their agenda? Their agenda for the past couple of years was to push an agenda that our president was a spy for the Russians. You know what they do to spies? They hang them. So our president was misaligned, mischaracterized, and everything they could to discredit him. And what happened? Well, in the 2018 election, a lot of people got elected that possibly wouldn't have got elected had this narrative not been out there. So it requires the change in outlook, as I said. And this, for what we oppose around the world, we're opposed by around the world, by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. That's the New World Order, the one world government, that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion. Now, subversion is the undermining of the power and authority of an established system. He makes a point of subversion instead of elections. What have we just seen in Florida happen? We saw voter fraud. Why do we think for 1 minute that Florida is the only place that's having voter fraud? Use wisdom. Joseph Stalin, who was the head of Russia during World War II, said, it's not important who votes, it's important who counts the votes. Who counted the votes in Florida? We all remember that. Who's counting the votes in your state? And what can you do to make sure that this next election is fair? Because there's many people, I believe, after all this has been exposed, that are sitting in the seats in Congress that didn't get there truthfully. They weren't elected, they were selected. So he continues. Intimidation instead of free choice. Well, all we have to do is look at Antifa. It shuts down free speech, just like the brown shirts did in Nazi Germany. If you don't agree with them, then they shut you down. They call you a racist. Or in some cases, they use physical bodily harm to stop you from speaking the truth. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned. This was excerpts from the speech of John F. Kennedy. We all know what happened to John F. Kennedy. Now, is this because he exposed this? We don't know that. Maybe the truth one day will come out. But what we have seen is a concerted effort by certain people in political parties and in the mainstream media to mischaracterize the President of the United States. And in doing so, change the narrative or change the thinking of people on how they look at the president, what they think of the president, the respect of the president, and all the things that we've seen over the last 2 years. So I made this video because the truth has got to come out. They don't fire people unless there's just cause. The ethical committee in the FBI decided all these people did unethical behavior, and there's more. Something very wrong and dishonest has happened. The truth is beginning to come out. But the truth is hard to find because very few people are explaining the truth. So I'm here to give facts, not innuendos, not feelings for the back of the neck. If I feel that, I will express it. But based on facts, I'm trying to share real truth so that people can make a decision with real truth. Because as the scripture said, the truth will set you free. And that is why I'm here. That's why I started this. That's why I felt compelled to get out there and explain this. It's been on my heart. And I just really feel that there's very few people that are doing this, other than the Hannitys and people like that. That are very, very few that are left in the mainstream media. But what we're doing is we're facing an entourage of individuals in political parties and in the media that are trying to brainwash, manipulate, whatever the word you want to use, us into believing something that's not true. So during the coming weeks, I'm going to share excerpts of what I feel is the truth is being overlooked. One of the next things I'm going to do is go down a step by step and give you an update of where everything is right now based on facts. Did you know that there's transcripts out on so many people right now that you can go on websites and look at? Struck, Page, and others, Comey, in their own words, transcripts of the truth that you never hear from the mainstream media. If you take all those and look at them, it forms a picture. That's what I'm going to do, is give you those facts, put them together in a way that you can understand them. I've read the whole Mueller report, all 430 pages. So I know when he came out with his 9-minute presentation, it was not factual based on the report. And I know when he goes before Congress on the 17th, there's very few things he's going to be able to say, and very few things the Democrats can say. What they're trying to do is keep a narrative going that there's something hidden in all this, that they can hopefully keep this whole thing rolling to 2020 and do just what they did in 2018, except this time take the Senate and maybe the presidency. But there is a saying, and that is, don't interrupt an enemy when he's in the process of destroying himself. I think there's many more questions that the Republican side of the House can ask Mueller than the Democrats can ask him. And I think it's going to be much of a detriment to the Democrats that they pushed this narrative and subpoenaed Mueller and got him in there. I think in the long run, it's going to backfire on them. But we'll see based on the truth. But that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to get people updated using the scriptures to give you relative truth of 2019 America, what God says about it, what we can do about it, what God shows us is happening, why it's happening, and how we can change it. I appreciate your time. God bless everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.